Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about how money truly exposes who you really are. And a lot of people won't like to admit this, but money doesn't change you, right? But it just reveals who you truly are on a day-to-day basis. Give two people the same amount of money. One becomes peaceful and the other may become anxious. One becomes generous and the other can become controlling. One feels more free and the other will feel a lot more empty. The same amount of money, just a very different outcome. And that's because money doesn't fix what's inside you, but it just shines a brighter light on that, on what is. We're sold this lie about money. Once I make enough money, everything will make sense. Everything will really start to come to fruition. They think that money will finally make them confident, that it'll make them respected, that it'll make them calm, or, that it'll make them feel like they've arrived for things. But money doesn't create those things for you. It simply just amplifies what's already there. So if you're insecure without money, you'll most likely be insecure with money. Probably just with a better fit on. Let's be honest. So if you avoid responsibility now, you'll avoid it later. Just at a much higher level. Because money doesn't build character, but it exposes it, like I've said. Some people will get very rich and still feel very empty. And, some people don't want money for freedom, but they want it for validation. They want it to finally feel like they've been chosen. Like they want to feel impressive. They want to feel ahead of others. They want to feel like they're just enough, if that makes sense. So when they get money, they don't slow down. They don't feel peace. They just feel like this constant pressure, if that makes sense. Pressure to perform, pressure to keep going, to get more. Because now they have something to lose. Money didn't give them security, but it gave them fear. It gave them their fear for more leverage. That's, why you see people making more than ever and still living paycheck to paycheck. Emotionally. They're not broke financially, but they're broken internally. Money will only just reveal your relationship with control. It'll show you how much you really trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, you'll tend to overspend to feel something. You'll panic during downturns. You'll chase hype instead of building systems that will continuously build for you. If you do trust yourself, though, you delay gratification. You think very long term about your decisions. You stay very calm when others panic about things. That's why, let's say for a market, in red markets, they break some people, and also at the same time, they build other people, build other people's wealth. The market doesn't really care about your emotions, but it will punish them if you use them in the wrong way. Now, market's just kind of an example, but there's also other examples of this. So why does money make other people kinder and make some people colder? Some people will tend to tip more, help quietly, become more patient with things and stop really competing with everybody else around them when they get more. But others will flex constantly. They'll talk down on people. They'll measure everything in terms of monetary gains and financial gains. They'll become very obsessed with status. And the difference was always there, right? Money didn't invent it. It just simply just removed the mask for those people and just kind of show the true nature of them. So, what is money actually for? I feel money is not for impressing strangers. It isn't for proving that you made it. You know, it isn't for filling emotional gaps and things. But money can really, when it can really do some good things for you, is when it's used for time. It's used for choices. It's used for margins. It's used for, really importantly, breathing room in life. The goal isn't necessarily to be rich, but the goal is to just wake up and not feel trapped by your own life. You ever wake up and you feel like you have to keep pushing yourself in a direction because if you don't make the ends meet, then the end will meet you. Really and truly. You know, you start to make a lot more calculated decisions when you don't have that thing bearing down on you and making you feel like you have to push yourself to different levels, even though you should push yourself to different levels. But having that weight bearing down on you, when that's gone, you're able to make decisions more fluidly and more creatively. So how do you begin to use money as a tool and not just a mirror of actions? You know, if you want money to serve you instead of expose you, you have to do this first. You know, you're going to want to start out with being honest about why you truly want it. If the answer is approval, then I feel money will never satisfy you and you'll always want more. So, if you want to use it to, build, then you have to build discipline before abundance. Because think about it, how you'll handle $100, $1,000 is how you'll handle $100,000, $1,000,000. The discipline is gonna keep you sane, but if you keep staying to your direct habits, then you will do the same thing you do with 100 that you would do with 100,000. Next, you're gonna want to detach money from identity. You're gonna want so your worth cannot rise and fall with your net worth. Let's kind of let that sit with you for a second. You're gonna also want to invest with logic and not with emotion because fear and greed are the most expensive habits that you can have. Genuinely, it will cost you so much. So I'm gonna talk to you directly though right now. If money scares you, it's not because you're bad with it. It's because it forces you to confront yourself, your habits, your patience, your insecurities, your discipline. And that can be very uncomfortable, right? But if you can learn to master that, money stops being more so of a test that you have, an exam, and it starts becoming a tool, not for you to just show off, but to finally live and do things on your own terms and in your own way. Thank you for listening, though. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all soon.